So Dave and I had a conversation last night, and we took a little snippet out that I'll tack on after this preamble. I think it's a really interesting way of demonstrating what it's like to know neighbors better. You know, Dave and I are just neighbors. We live a few streets away. We've gotten to know each other. We're able to talk about topics that really spanned generations and offer different perspectives. So I hope you find this interesting and maybe encouraging to think about how you want to relate to neighbors as well. Thanks, Dave, for chatting with me.
I don't know. What do you think is the biggest challenge of being 42 in your life?
All the old people I have to talk to.
Boom, a bang on the boomerang comes down and smacks him in the head. Want to throw it again? Oh, sure.
Don't tell anybody.
Now, what do you think is the biggest thing with I know you're doing a lot of soul searching for trying to find something meaningful to do. And
to be 42 in 2025 living in Albuquerque here, I don't know. It's not that hard. There's lots of stuff going on, but it's just normal life. It's nothing crazy.
Do you think it's harder to find the pulse of life and
I don't know. There are a lot of distractions, I suppose.
20 years ago or whatever, you know.
I mean, 20 years ago, I was in my 20s. I don't know what the pulse of life was back then.
Well, you know, you just had enough friends and enough, you know, it was like you almost didn't even have to think about it because somebody was always going to be doing something this weekend or whatever. And
I get the impression that our experiences have been very different. When I was 22, 20 years ago, I had a couple of friends, maybe. I have many, 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 many more social connections now than I did in my 20s. I think, and for you, it sounds like maybe it was different.
It was, like you're saying, right after I got out of undergrad school, it was slow. Because everybody disappeared. It was like I had 5 good years, a 5-year run from high school senior year to my senior year in college. It was nothing but a hoot. It was just learn to play the guitar, learn to ski, going with a different girl, college girl, and it was a lot of fun. But when I graduated, it got really lonely because most of my an odd, strange twist of fate, so many of my friends went out of town. My sister and her husband, who was a very good friend of mine, we were roommates, they got married and they went down to Dallas for a year so she could finish PT school. And then my roommate in the dormitory that I was in my sophomore and in my junior year, he went to grad school in Arizona. I knew 3 Navy pilots in the dorm and afterwards, and all 3 of them went to the Navy. Shoot, they were gone. I broke up with my girlfriend from college. You know, she was gone.
How do you feel at this current time about how many friends you have or don't have?
Actually, I feel pretty good. It's just that one of the hardest things of getting old is losing some very good friends. And I've lost some really good friends in the last 10 years or so. Yeah. I mean, I lost my piano teacher, good friend. Lost my guitar teacher, good friend. I lost the guy who was one of my first clients I ever had in law school. I was in the law school clinical program, and we had to do real cases. And I got him a divorce from his first wife. That's how we met. And Cookie and Spencer, we became very good friends. They got a divorce, and eventually, sadly enough, Spencer passed away. In fact, he called me up about 4 months before he passed away. It happened really suddenly. It was like he was just gone really quickly.
They just keep piling up, it sounds like.
Yeah, they do. It's like I've met some new friends, you and Tom and Keith, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't meet new friends. I like...
it doesn't take away the loss of the old.
Yeah, I like Francis and Dave, you know. But, yeah, it's just like... It's like I used to say, I don't mind making new friends. I just don't like losing the old ones. I really don't like it because when I was writing this letter to Paul, I haven't even gotten... I haven't gotten past junior high yet, I think. And it's already a page long. All the stuff we've done together. How do you replace that? You can't.
You just remember it.
Yeah, you can remember it. But if they go, let's say, all of a sudden they're yanked out of your life the way his wife was yanked out of his life in a month and a half, starting in May, and she was gone by the middle of June.
Have your ways of coping with death changed as you gotten older?
It's gotten more realistic, as you get closer to it. I've had more health concerns, although, knock on wood.
That is wood.
And I was behind on another wood knock. I was so much into life, didn't have time to breathe. I mean, after that one pause after undergrad school and before I got into law school, there was about a year and a half, 2 years. And I began to wonder what happened in my life. It was like depressing,
Before you kind of like picked up on the next chapter?
Yeah, and then when I got into law school, everything just started picking up again. Met Susie, but boom, here we go,
That was a long chapter.
Became good friends with Louis. He introduced us, And I knew Mary Jo was first one.
What do you want for the next chapter of life?
I'd like to find something that would, what you're kind of looking for, which is something that would use me up, like
riches and bitches.
No, more like meaningful something. It's like I've got to get this house cleaned up and my yard. My yard's coming around. I mean, it's going to look pretty cool, but.
What's the hardest part about getting the house cleaned up?
Part of it is that dealing with some hello buddy, some quasi-health concerns. Like I was never, that nosebleed, those were pretty significant, and they scared the shit out of me. That was tough. Being diagnosed with prostate cancer when I was 71 or 2, that was tough. And if Mark hadn't called me up, I'd probably be dead, because get an MRI, okay. Yeah, get an MRI, okay.
Well, now that it seems like you're more or less in a pretty healthy window.
Yeah, I am in a pretty healthy window, and it's kind of cool. And not, even though I lost all that weight, with the cramps and everything, I've learned that, okay, do your research, find out what the cause. It's very hard to do that, though, when it's your health, And
there's also, I think, like a theme of how to manage the anxiety about the worries of.
It is very hard. You have to
things.
learn to place it to the side. You don't really place it to the side. You got to learn to harness it. Say, okay, so you're anxious now. What are you going to do? You got to schedule this appointment and this appointment.
Yeah.
And
not let it paralyze you.
You really can't. And you kind of want to because you're so damn scared. And you're by yourself. I mean, the woman I talked to for 37 years. Every day. I was like.
Right.
She's gone.
Right.
The children have moved out of the house. They're gone. That's not as dramatic as losing my guitar and suture and piano and all those people. But they add up in the sense that
there's similarity.
They add up layers of loneliness,
Yeah.
You have to you don't have to stand for it. You can, and I think I'm just about at the point where I'm ready to try to meet another woman. I mean. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is this damn neck.
Listen, I know this 18-year-old who's very liberal, open-minded, shall we say.
Is she cute?
No.
Oh, well, then I'm afraid.
What are you looking for?
No, we still look, that's my whole thing. We still look.
You're looking for friendship? You're looking for possibly...
I'm looking
How would you define it?
That's hard to define because it's different than when you're in your 20s or teens versus even when you're in your 40s like you are, What are you looking for, I don't think you're looking for the same thing you looked for when you were in your 20s, And...
I still never know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I know. It's not... if you can accept the fact that you're not ever going to know everything all at once, it's like...
Well, what's some of the sketching for what you're looking for? The outline?
Well... I would think something meaningful in my life that would help a lot for making it easy to meet somebody else. I would like to have somebody to talk to. I'd like to have somebody to laugh with. I'd like to have somebody to go to a movie with.
Yeah.
I'd like to have somebody that says, hey, do you ever skied before? You want to give it a shot? I got to settle this neck issue, which is another little thing that's pulling, like...
Somebody who can accept your health
and I
situation.
think I've got to resolve this thing because it wears you out. And I want to ski next year.
What would you say to someone if you met someone and she had some health issues and like maybe challenges with self-confidence because of those health issues?
That'd be a tough one because I don't know how strong I could be about helping her and helping me,
Well, the sort of like what would you want, sort of like how would you like to be treated, and then how would you treat someone else who was in a similar position of like maybe how you're feeling?
Yeah, I know. We talk about how lonely you are and stuff. Then you find out that you don't want to spend the time to help somebody else. It's hypocritical.
Maybe it's not even about helping.
Well,
maybe it's just more about
be there or whatever you want to call
accepting
it.
or
Companionship.
And I'm not saying that you can't help someone, but sometimes it's not under our control.
No, but you said, what if they had a physical,
like let's say they had, I don't know, name a
I
health
have to think
condition.
of something that's not so fatalistic that it would put a, you can't say something like Parkinson's because that's going to be fatal eventually, So it's like, ugh.
Life is fatal.
Yeah. Well, I thought about Susan Turner,
Okay.
And she was there was about a 15-year difference, I think, between us. I think when she was 52, I was 67. As I think is when she moved in the house, more or less, somewhere around that time. I know it was right after my divorce, and I was divorced in 2010. But anyway, I thought about it later. I thought there was a moment that I could have. I know she was kind of waiting for me to do something, and I was so unsure of myself because I never, for 37 years, I've been used to one woman, So it was very hard to be all of a sudden go back into that mode again.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it later. I thought Susan died about 2 years ago, and I thought, think about that. What if you've grown to really like her a lot, and then all of a sudden this fatalistic thing crept, wow, that'd be a tough thing. You finally find somebody after the divorce, and then, it's something you cannot stop from happening. Oh my gosh, that would have been so hard. And
you think it would be harder than not ever having experienced the benefits?
I do think it would be. I really do. I think that would be very difficult, not knowing you cannot really help them, that it's going to take her life sooner or later. That'd be hard.
You want someone who's going to more or less likely die after you?
Or at the same time. You'd like to find somebody who would age gracefully about the same way you were doing it.
Someone about your age?
Yeah.
I'm not relatively...
You want some babe? I said, no, I'm not stupid. I'm not like Erica's, old men who are trying to, that guy's always trying to get her to bed. I'm going, you're 103, you jerk.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're looking for more of a relationship.
More of a relationship. Could it be physical? I can still fire the shit if I want to.
Clean out the carburetor.
It wouldn't necessarily be the primary motivation for it. The primary motivation is just simply finding companionship and being more mature in that sense, that you're looking for somebody to share life with, not just to...
Where do you think you're going to find this person?
I'm going to have to get out of my comfortable routine. I'm going to have to start going to the senior citizen centers or some other place where people our age, congregate and meet in a social way.
Yeah.
And
do you ever go there, senior center?
No, I've never have, but I'm going to have to start doing it.
I mean, Highlands. They have a pretty solid burrito.
The what?
They have a pretty solid breakfast burrito, $1.85.
Woo!
But you got to be there, I think, between 8 and 9 a.m. I want you to go so I can go with you and get the $1.85 burrito.
Oh, this is my mooching friend.
Exactly. Now you're getting it.
I don't know. I would like to meet somebody. Yeah. What did Keller say? He said when he was talking to me about my cramps and stuff, he said, am I right? How did he phrase it? It was like, he said, you really, part of your problem about the health stuff is not having somebody just to talk to about it. He said, it seems like when you're engaged with other people, your health concerns kind of subside and you focus on other things. That's true.
How do you feel about the idea of support groups?
That would be all right. I mean, that's okay.
It's also a way of meeting people.
No, I was just thinking that. When you said that, immediately switched over to, I could meet people in a support group, you know. And it would be fun if you could meet somebody in a support group where somebody, they might need some help, but they'd also be willing to
Parkland Village.
go out tonight and, you know, go for a beer or go dancing or something like that. You meet somebody who's got some issues but is ready to kind of do some things with them. So.
Check this out.
What is Parkland? I keep forgetting what it is.
Here, have a door hanger.
Hang out with us.
It's a social and sometimes volunteer exchange between people who are generally older and aging in place. Here's their newsletter. It's got stuff like, let's make Valentines together. Zoom forums where you can talk to other people about, let's see. There's an artist who is on Zoom and will talk about her artwork, printmaking, painting, sculpture, and you just log into a Zoom session.
Yeah, it's funny.
And then they also have in-person events.
How small this world is. The other day when I was out in the yard, I don't know how it started, but Francis came by and Dave.
Coffee Clatch.
And that was another couple showed up and they were walking their dog. We started talking.
Mm-hmm.
And said, "What were you?" "Well, I was an Albuquerque High teacher most of my life. I was a lawyer before that. And I said, "Were you Albuquerque High?" "Yeah." I said, "Oh, did you know Sam Tapia and Phyllis Benny?" And I go, "You gotta be kidding." And I said, "Sam."
Dave, you know everyone in this town.
But I knew Phyllis really well. I mean, that would have been one woman. I would have said, "Phyllis, you've lost your husband. I lost mine."
Phyllis, if you're out there,
yeah,
leave a comment with your phone number.
I've got her phone number.
Didn't we Google it one night? That was somebody else.
No, that was Mary.
Oh, shit.
I was like, shoot, Mary. I'm not gonna. Phyllis would probably not be a physical thing. I think so much with Phyllis, but I would like to talk to her about art. I'd like her to try to give me some art lessons. I really would like to do that.
Well, I'll conclude this little video. What wisdom do you have to dispense unto a 42-year-old?
That's interesting.
For me, what advice do you have for me?
I would say basically stay constantly engaged in life. Constantly. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're feeling blue or not feeling so good. You're just going to have to stay engaged with life. Learn to kind of let the flow happen. Like if it isn't a perfect day today, just let it go over you, and then maybe tomorrow usually is.
Well, that's good. None of my days are perfect.
Yeah. Well, what I'm finding out is that I'll put a barrier up to me, like, "Oh, you got an appointment tomorrow." Like, "Oh God, it'll ruin my whole night." Like, "Oh God, I gotta get up and go to that damn doctor's thing, tomorrow, whatever." And I gotta get to bed early, and it bothers me. And lately, more and more, I just kind of go, "Oh, I gotta get up early tomorrow. I'll go to the doctor thing. So let's just get this out of the way. Let's get it going." And I'm learning to not...
kind of like detaching from the anxiety of it.
Don't fight it. Yeah, exactly. Don't fight it so much and detach from the anxiety is a good phrase. Yeah, pull yourself away from it and say, why don't you assume that it'll work out okay anyway, You can assume one way or the other. You say, "I don't know if this is going to work out." Okay, why don't you assume that I think this has a chance of working out, And if you got a choice between the two, why not go for the optimistic one? And also it buffers you to have an optimism.
Even if it doesn't happen, it's paying some dividends, thinking it could be better.
And it makes what's in front of you easier. It really does. And it teaches you one thing that I'm really still learning even late in life.
Well, that's all a bunch of horse shit. I can't use that. That's not good information at all. Thanks a lot.
What I'm learning late in life is that it's not ever consistent. It's like when you think that you're on a roll, like, "Oh, I'm on a roll now. My health is good. I'm okay. I'm running errands. I'm off on a run. Here we go. And then something will come and bump me. Like today. The doctor's thing.
There's always something.
Right. And instead of going, "Oh God," talk it through with a friend. Talk about it and go, okay, tomorrow I'll think about how I got to solve this. I'll have to call on Monday and say, you need to get the medication today because if I wait another day, it's going to be too long. I'm just telling you, but, I've already put in the request on Friday. And then just take care of that. It's done, okay? It's done. And learning to do that has been difficult for me because I've always want things to be kind of settled. Well, it's difficult for everybody. Everybody wants a certain amount of stability in their life. We're always looking for stability. Yeah. On the other hand, we're also looking for a little bit of adventure, a little bit of a challenge. So how do you balance the two? Because you can't have adventure and challenge without taking some chances. If you take some chances, you're going to be uneasy. You're going to feel like, I'm out of my element. I'm not quite where I like. So do you want to...
I'll be curious what your upcoming challenges and risks are going to look like.
Well, my one challenge is obviously very big and physical, which is learn to accept that whole tempo of life. And that's been kind of an eye-opener for me. Like, I generally try to get everything organized and under control, and stuff. And I don't like when it's not under control. It's like, okay, I wish I was... And now I'm learning to go, well, try to control as much as you can, but when it doesn't happen exactly the way you want it to happen, take a deep breath, and unless you're way off on your thinking, it's probably going to resolve okay eventually in a day or 2 or 3 or 4. And I'm learning to accept that. I'm learning to say, to believe in it almost, like, I think it'll be okay eventually. I think this is going to be all right.
Not just to think it, but to believe it.
Yeah. And there's an old saying, and it's really true. At my age, it's really true. If you've got your health, you've got everything. There's a saying. Grandma says, if you've got your health, you've got everything. And
so if I have my health and your health, I have twice of everything.
You would. You'd be so freaking healthy. You would go, that damn Nick is obnoxious. He's overflowing with all sorts of confidence. And
all right, I'm going to turn off this silly video now.
But it is